Quarterback, absolutely loaded this week. So where do we actually want to start at quarterback? Because I could give you a few guys out of the gate that are super expensive, but also could actually break the slate at their price point. Josh Allen in a 54-point total game against Detroit, 54-point total against Detroit. Lamar Jackson, $8,300, 14 and a half, 15 points in some spot favorite against the New York Giants. By the way, before last week, 2 weeks ago when they lost to the Eagles, the only other team that had beat Lamar Jackson was that super fluky Giants game where where he fumbled and they won in the late fourth quarter. But those two guys, like, we could get into Burrow if you wanted against Tennessee. You could get into Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to Jalen Hurts here, I don't think. But Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson up top are wild spots.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to ignore. Obviously, Josh Allen is just out of control. That was a mistake by me. I liked him, and then product of the slate, the value that opened up, I just did not get to him. And we saw what happened. So he's not going to be unowned this week. I can promise you that. Even if value doesn't open up, people will make room just because of what he's coming off. I think most people would agree with this. I think that's where I lean too. It's not to say Lamar can't have a big game, but I think Lamar is more likely to have a solid game en route to a comfortable win, where Josh Allen is, I mean, he's unstoppable.
He is Who do you like in this game? Buffalo's a 2.5-point dog.
I lean Detroit. They seem to be continuing to mask what's going on at defense. I didn't expect Buffalo, not that I liked them against the Rams, but I also thought they would win the game. So, home field is slipping away quickly if they can't get this win.
Yeah, well, I think I like the Bills a little bit here. Coming off that really tough loss in LA. I don't think it really matters. This game could go nuts.
It's expected to. I mean, we don't see totals really it's about as high as you're going to get.
Do you think that Josh Allen or Lamar are either viable or should be prioritized this week?
I mean, clearly viable. There's no doubt about that.
Of course.
Prioritized. Part of it will be the value that opens up, but just given that we're deep in the season, I'm gonna bank that value will open up. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I should have done last week. I will make room for Josh Allen this week.
I think I will too. Now, what about guys like Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow? I think that's tougher.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something for tournament value, low owned stacks, but I don't really see it, to be honest. I actually would, if Jalen Hurts is like 1% owned, I'd rather play him.
You would do it, huh? You would go to Hurts?
It would have to be legitimately like a sub 5% owned stack, yeah.
I still think I have to put Josh Allen as the top dog here.
Same. I don't know how you don't, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, Lamar's super interesting this week, but I might be more incentivized to see if I can get to some Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Like, this might actually be the Henry week.
Yeah.
He might run wild.
It's dealer's choice for them of what they want to do. I mean, they should have their way. And that's why I'm just worried, again, it's not that Lamar can't break one, but why exactly are they going to have Lamar running around in a game that's not expected to be even remotely close?
Right, unless it is. But I don't actually know how it would be. And we don't know if it's going to be Drew Lock, who's banged up, or Tommy DeVito, but that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
So I think it's Josh Allen. I like your take on Hurts just in the event. Like, yes, if Allen and Lamar are actually popular, well, then that might mean that Hurts is actually unowned.
That's what I mean. I don't know who in their right mind is going to play him, because clearly there's a bunch of guys in the mid-range that are in really good spots as well.
Let's talk about, I'll give you one in the mid-range. I really don't hate going back to Tua again. I had some great Tua Tagovailoa lineups this week, and it just wasn't even close to being enough. Like, it didn't, on any other week, my Tua lineups like my 185.2 lineups would have been at the very least good. And they didn't even cash this week. But looking at this spot, first of all, Jalen Petrie has a partially torn pec. He's been like a legitimate standout safety for them. And then Aziz Al-Shair, who's been very good, is also suspended. Now, that isn't the be all end all, of course, but they do have some banged up pieces in the defense. And Tua is still not expensive. He's still not expensive. Tyreek Hill is still not hugely expensive. Jalen Waddle is not a crazy price point. Jonnu Smith's price hasn't really come up. All of these guys are pretty much just stagnant.
It's an easy stack. There's no doubt. And like you said, last week, the results got so out of control because of Josh Allen. A lot of quarterbacks had really nice outputs, and it just didn't feel like they did. Product of the slate. So I get going to Tua. I'm going to go to Bo Nix. He threw the ball 35 times against Cleveland. He's consistently throwing the ball 30 plus times. I don't fear the Colts pass defense whatsoever. They're over 7 yards allowed per pass attempt. He can run. He's at home. They've got a lot going on in a good way. They got a lot to play for. I think Bo Nix will again be in play this week.
What about Kyler?
Yeah, he's another one where I'm not saying he was great last week, but he felt actively terrible. And he didn't have a terrible game. He was just like, whatever.
They played, yeah, they were, I mean, that game was never actually competitive.
No, it wasn't. Kyler, yeah, I mean, I love his weapons. It just didn't click last week, and that was disappointing. Obviously, they should be in a much more advantageous position against New England at home.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to throw as much. It might be a James Conner spot, really.
That's what freaks me out a little bit.
All right, one more for you. How about on the other side of this Josh Allen game? What about Jared Goff against Buffalo?
I'm interested to see how popular he is because, of course, he's the attachment to the best game, but most people are going to want to go to Josh Allen. 41 attempts against Green Bay. I mean, that is what you need when you play Jared Goff, and he's got every weapon imaginable. So I'm gonna give him a yes, but I have him behind Tua and Nix.
Are you interested in Stroud at all? Because I truthfully don't know what to make of that guy, and he has regressed quite a bit. He looks more as like a rookie this year than he did as a rookie.
I honestly don't know what to do with Stroud. I think there's going to have to be some external factor that leads me to him because if it's all the same, I would rather just play the guys we talked about.
Give me Tua in the mid-range.
Yeah, give me Bo Nix.
Okay. Low tier. All right. This actually starts to get fun, man. Because you have a guy like Will Levis who just totally squandered a good spot last week. He's 5K against that Cincinnati defense. And I'm going to tell you what, dude, I don't think I can pull the trigger.
I mean, last week it seemed like there was no matchup or situation where he could actually have a ceiling game. It was that poor of a performance.
And the worst part was like he had multiple opportunities on 4th and goal. They were just going for it.
Yeah.
On 4th and goal multiple times. And these passes weren't even close. By the way, multiple of them were to Calvin Ridley as well.
Of course they were.
I will say, though, I'll go right back to Calvin Ridley. The target share, the volume in this is good enough. I just don't feel like attaching Will Levis to it right now. Like, I'd rather just play Ridley.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. I'll go Drake May. Drake May just does his thing.
I had a feeling you like Drake May quite a bit.
Big fan of Drake May. He runs. He's got volume. They'll be trailing. I respect Arizona's defense, but it's still a good game set up for him.
3 years from now, who's the best quarterback in this class?
Oh, Drake May, for sure.
I knew you were going to say that.
It could be Bo Nix, but Drake May.
You know where I'm at on this, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Bo Nix, but I like Drake May. All right, so we've got a couple things here. Sub 6K. You have Justin Herbert. This team doesn't have a run game right now, and it's really hurting them. Also, the absence of Ladd McConkey hurts. Will Dissly got hurt. I would stay far away from Justin Herbert if those guys are all out this week, right? Like they already can't run the football. But I would be very interested in Justin Herbert if he gets those guys back and healthy. Like if you told me that Ladd was back, if you told me that mostly Ladd, but Disley helps as well because you're getting him at $3,700. Ladd McConkey is $6,300 and he's been heavily involved. Even a guy like Quentin Johnston's 5K. You could very much convince me that Justin Herbert is the best sub 6K play this week if he gets some reinforcements.
No doubt he needs some help though, because the offense is not flowing right now, and I don't feel the need to really go to a team who still has a defensive identity at heart. So keep an eye on that one. Sub 6K for Herbert is definitely something we want to revisit.
Okay, two more. One of them, they're both grows, but one of them's playing good football right now. The other's on a team who is actually blown 4 fourth quarter leads in their last 5 games. Aaron Rodgers and Bryce Young. Aaron Rodgers at 5,400 goes into a matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Although the season's long over for them. Who knows what they try and do if he even plays. Bryce Young has a home matchup against the Cowboys. Believe it or not, the Carolina Panthers, who took the Chiefs down to the wire, who took the Bucks to overtime, who took the Eagles down to the wire. They've got a spot against Dallas where they're actually favored at home.
They should be. They're playing good football. Their ceiling is capped because they're not a good football team, but they're getting the most out of their personnel, I'd say, at this point. I get it. I think I'd have more interest in Bryce Young over Rodgers just because he gives you certainly can give you more rushing and the attempt should be there. Honestly, though, I'm just not sure I really want to do that.
I'll be honest. I'd rather just jam Chuba Hubbard. Jam him this week.
He's getting like 35 touches a game, it feels like.
He played 97% of snaps last week. Jonathan Brooks went down with the re-tearing that ACL. That's horrible, by the way. That sucks. Really sucks for him. But truthfully, is there any way at 6,500 that you're getting away from Chuba Hubbard this week?
I mean, again, there's always something to be said about, but when you have volume to that degree, it's really hard to ignore because, yes, he could play bad. Anyone could play bad, though, but you feel virtually certain that you're going to have opportunity after opportunity, both in the passing game and the running game. So, yeah, he's going to be really popular, but I think he should be.
By the way, I told you something would go wrong with that. Everyone told me I was I told you something would go wrong with Alvin Kamara this week.
Yeah, that was a problem, a big problem. And it was, you were right. Kendry Miller took, he also ran very hot, like he made the most of his touches, but yeah, I don't really understand that whole situation. It was a big mess. But yeah, you were right about Kendry Miller.
He had 10 rushing attempts and that son of a bitch got into the end zone.
They all did.
What?
Every Isaiah Davis scored, Kendry Miller scored. There were backup guys scoring all over the place.
Yeah. Both of those timeshare situations, not timeshare, because Kamara still got a good amount of opportunities. But actually, I think it was like 17-10 on rushing attempts?
I don't know, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Yeah. But you could see Isaiah Davis was gonna have a role. You could just tell from last week because he was their most productive player in the backfield. And he did. He had the same exact, if you look, it was essentially a 50-50 split with Braylon Allen. We'll get into that. Give me your top quarterback. Is it Drake May, you said?
Drake May.
All right. I'm tentatively going to go Justin Herbert, hoping that he gets Ladd back and Disley back. I think he'd be in a pretty good spot if that's the case.